So first up, we have a 0-gem Servant of Dawn deck. This revolves around Gaia the Fierce Knight, a card available at the card trader, and everything else is either an event drop, in starter decks, or otherwise free to obtain. Gaia the Fierce Knight at 2300 is good enough to beat over cards like Seven Sword Magician and Prima Katana naturally. Then, with the skill, it's also able to beat Dragius, Yami Ruler, and other major threats. If you don't need to boost Gaia, you can also boost one of your other monsters, like Celtic Guardian. This allows you to have them beat opposing low-level monsters, or even take down cards like Seven's Road Witch. Triple Threat Thunder and the Aqua Engine provide a way to push for damage, something that this deck sorely otherwise lacks. Okay, next up we have a Boxless Voltcondor list. So this is just the free copy of the structure deck, the 500 gem one, and Summon Skull being added to the card pool. Instead of using Lightning Shift, we decide to go for a more aggro build because we have so few cards that we can take advantage of. There are no good spell and trap cards in the free-to-play pool, so we aren't using the Trick Pigeon. And since we aren't running the Trick Pigeon, we also use Legend Draw instead of Lightning Shift. Once again, we do use the Aqua Engine as a way to reduce the attack of opposing monsters, and it combos pretty well with Voltcondor. We also have boss monsters of a variety of different attributes, such as Earth, Dark, and Fire, to make use of Light Condor's effect regardless of what the opponent is playing. This deck does feel a little bit better than the first one, just because we have Voltcondor and Torna as ways to be more aggressive and push in for damage. I think you definitely still need to get lucky to be winning your games, but it is a bit more consistent. We also have the Piercing Dragon Bunker Strike, which can help us filter out our deck. And with Seahorse Carrier, we do actually have a chance of building these multiple tribute boards. Phoenix Dragon is here to recycle the Bunker Strikes and also is valid to get Fire Guardian back. Other than that, there's not all that much different from the other deck. It's worth noting that the most popular boss monsters on the ladder are indeed Light type, with Dragius and Dion Kato decks being everywhere. This means Lightning Voltcondor is actually pretty likely to be able to use the effect, even though we don't have the Lightning Shift skill. Next up is what I call Half Box Beetle. This allows all of the normals and rares from the box, as well as one copy of SRs. We do not get any box URs. The Beetle deck is much more competent than the previous lists. Thanks to the Piercing Lancer, we are able to actually get over opposing set 3 boards. Additionally, it is a Pyro, allowing it to be boosted by Spice the Elite Noodle Ninja and the Diabolic King Beetle. We also include a Folder Blitz the Infinite Dream as a way to push even more aggressively. Roman Pick puts 3 cards in the discard pile, boosting up Diabolic King Beetle and Spice the Elite Noodle Ninja. Additionally, since it can recur psychic monsters, if we mill a Howling Bird, it can actually even enable big tribute plays. For the skill, we use Tribute Boost, which can give our Lancer or Beetle 500 extra attack, or let it be tributed off for a 2 tribute monster. Overall, this isn't too far off from what you would think of in a normal Beetle build. We're missing some cards like Dragius and maybe a 7-sword Magician, but the Noodle Ninja variant of Beetle is a real deck. You can see here in the game, we are actually outing multiple 2000 plus attack monsters on one turn. Of course, we also have the Summon Skull as another boss monster, and Bunker Strike from the SR rank tickets to help boost the consistency. The other decks all took at least 5 games in order to get a win, but this is actually just the second game with the Beetle we're playing. And you can see we are actually performing a pretty normal looking game. It's not like my opponent has completely bricked or anything. They are bringing out big monsters each turn. Ultimately, they end up conceding. So let's go on to the final round. Alright, so we're gonna finish up the video with a 1-box Dragonic Resonance deck. The only differences are that I'd run 3 Dragonic Pressure and a 2nd Dragonic Slayer. If you don't have 3 copies of Bunker Strike because you're new and still waiting for the ranked rewards, you can run more copies of Fire Guardian instead. I've already covered Dragonic Resonance in detail, so let's take a look at what's going on in the game. You can see here, I'm a little bit down on life points. However, I was able to clear my opponent's board, and now they are making their counterattack. Fortunately, they aren't able to deal all that much damage to me. I go down a little bit, but on the next turn, I draw into a Dragius. I don't use the sports dragons, bringing out my boss monster and clearing the board naturally. This puts my opponent down to half of their life points, and I have a pretty good board. On top of needing to out Dragius, they're going to need multiple other monsters to compete. They can always use the Dark Arts of Celerity to turn my monster sideways, but instead they go for the delay directive. Unfortunately for them, I have a Gravity Press Dragon. This is able to lower the defense of Yami Ruler, and they shortly concede afterwards. This deck is nearly at full power with just 1 run of the box, and I think it is the best deck in the game. If you're a new player, I highly recommend taking a look at this one. As a bonus, here's a quick aggro deck I've built, also using the 1-box rule. Even though you don't have multiple copies of all of the boss monsters, you are able to build something pretty competent. I took this one for a test drive in ranked as well, and won my very first game with it.